Good morning, West Coast. Hello, world. This is your host, CJ Mr. FitBiz Wiggins, of the very positive show, Improve You, Health, Happiness, and Longevity. Today's show, we will cover longevity and how to live a longer and healthier life. We have a special guest with us today, Gregory Kevorkian. He's the author of a new book called Male Aging Busted. He's a very, very knowledgeable guy on health and fitness. But first, I'm going to get into a couple of announcements about myself and everything I have going on in Las Vegas. Improve You, the quick start to your fitness success. I'm going to have a book signing March 29th at Clark County Library. And that'll be, if you're in town, that'll be 1401 East Flamingo Road, Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to have about 150 authors out there. It's going to be a lot of authors from around Las Vegas promoting themselves, and I will be there if you want to meet me and have a signed book. Next, Improve You Fitness. The facility that I train at is located 2651 Crimson Canyon Drive, Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's 89128, and that's Suite 190. I specialize in weight loss programs, sports-specific training, any type of exercise training regimen that you probably can think of. I basically covered all at that gym. And you could go to my website, is improveyoufitness.com, and you can catch up with my latest blogs, videos, and then my training. Anything that I have, you can go to my website and check it out. But today, we got a real interesting show about longevity and living a longer life. A lot of people tend to ask questions. A lot of my clients that I train, asking a young guy like me, what's the secret to living a healthier life? And I usually do a lot of research and come up with different things about, some things to stay healthy. And I know one of them is working out. So, but I have someone else on the line that probably a little bit more knowledgeable than me. I got more years experience than me. I wanted to get him on to talk to you guys today in reference of living a longer, healthier life. He's Mr. Gregory Kevorkian. He's an author. He has over 50 years of experience in exercise and fitness, competitive bodybuilder, played football, ran 7 marathons, a black belt in martial arts. He was a strength coach, personal trainer, and in the 70s, he developed one of the first diabetic exercise programs. He's a researcher in vitamins, minerals, and supplements over 40 years. The last 20 years, he has been researching and implementing anti-aging strategies, which led him to his book, Male Aging Busted. And I have a privilege to have him on the show today, Master Teacher Gregory Kevorkian. Greg, are you there?
Yeah, hey CJ, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks. Well, I got a lot of questions for you because, like I said, what I was telling the people earlier about, me training older people, and they're asking me questions. But I think what other good person to ask besides you about these questions about living a longer and healthy life. So, first thing, do you think it's possible for people to live longer, healthier these days?
Yeah, absolutely. If they do all the right things that are necessary, they can, forestall the aging process and keep themselves healthy. I live in an over 55 community, and actually I'm 68 years old. And, people come up to me in the gym and say they can't believe how old I am and the kind of shape I'm in. Not that I'm bragging, but this is what happens all the time. And, as you know, because we trained in the same gym for a while. And you have to be extremely proactive in your health. I see a lot of people in my community, like I said, that are in their late 50s, early 60s, 70s, 80s, and very, very, very few people are proactive. And when I say proactive, I mean you have to take the right steps. You have to take the right nutrients. You have to exercise. You have to get enough sleep. You got to keep your stress level down. And most older people, they just tend to just wait till they get sick, and then they go running to the doctor, and they hope the doctor's going to help them. And, most older doctors are as sick as they are, so they don't really get the proper guidance. So, that was one of the impetuses that made me write my book.
Okay, so what do you think the problem is with people these days, and why they don't live longer, in their later lives, after 40? A lot of people having, like diabetes and, gout and arthritis. What do you think the reason is, like, as far as earlier in life?
I believe, like I said before, most of these people are couch potatoes. They sit around, and you got to start this when you're young. So we're going to address a little bit to the young people. Young people think, and when I say young, 20s, 30s, I started getting into supplements, and I started training when I was 13. And like I said, I'm 68, so you do the math. But I started getting into supplements right after I got out of the military. I was about 21 years old because I was starting to get into the bodybuilding. And believe me, bodybuilders are ahead of the curve when it comes to nutrients and stuff and exercise by far. So I really got into that. And most young people now, they live on junk food. They don't train. If they have jobs, they're very, very stressed out. And that's something we can talk about later, the stress level. That's the number one killer and the number one ager and the number one cause of disease. I don't care what anybody tells me, So they don't get involved in anything. They sit around, and especially the younger kids coming up on video games. They don't go out and play like we used to, so they don't get the physical activity. Their nutrition is horrendous. And that's going to lead to disease. Now, there are exceptions. People, that age and they don't get sick and they do everything wrong, but that is a very small minority of people who can get away with doing that stuff, and it comes down to genetics, which is another thing that's very important.
So I heard you talking about stress. I have been, I run into a lot of people in the gym, even now, that's, they love to work out, but it's kind of always, which I tell them, it's like the stress fights against the body in a negative way. If you're just sitting there stressing, but when I tell them, like, if they stay in the gym but also stay stress-free, it could benefit their health. So how do you think that, stress relates to health, and what some of the stuff do stress do to the body?
Well, like I said, stress is the number one killer. There was a researcher called Hans Selye who did all the research on stress and what happens. And when you get stressed out, CJ, your cortisol levels go up, okay? But when it first happens to you, your DHEA levels go up. And there's a lot of stuff I address in my book. So the DHEA buffers the cortisol in the body. And what happens if you continue to stay stressed, your cortisol levels will continue to rise and your DHEA levels will drop. And that's when the cortisol becomes a catabolic hormone. Catabolic, breaks down the systems in the body, breaks down muscle, breaks down just about everything, and you start having diseases. And that's basically the main thing. Now, there are things that you can do to offset the stress. Exercise is probably one of the number one things, or the number one thing. Exercise is, it's catharsis. You let out the stress, you train. But you also have to have the proper nutrition. You got to make sure especially as you get older, your DHEA levels, which are the stress buffers, drop tremendously. and your cortisol levels will stay up. That's just a matter of aging. Cortisol stays up, DHEA goes down. So you find that older people tend to be a little more stressed out than the younger people because of that factor. But there are nutrients too that help, that can, help the stress level. But it's not. I'm not going to get into that right now. But so there are a lot of things you can do, but you got to be proactive in taking care of this stuff.
Okay, you said exercise. I heard you say a good point. That's what I do. I'm a trainer, so I do promote exercise. So, I mean, like, what's some of the things you recommend for people out there, if they're older or they're younger and they never worked out? What's some of the things they should do just to get started? What's some of the things you suggest if they want to get moving and, some things that they can do if they're not really active people?
Well, it depends how motivated they are to get into training. And, I mean, you and I, we see it all the time. And I saw it when I train people and all. I mean, some people have the motivation, they really want to do it. And some people, they just give lip service. They say, oh, yeah, I want to train, I want to do this. And they last a week and then they stop. Let's talk about people who really want to get into it, Starting out and getting out, walking, getting on a treadmill, getting on an elliptical, getting on a stationary bike, you can do that. Start off with light weights, and get into a 3-day routine or even a 2-day routine just to get started. So you do some cardio, you do some, you do some weights, and then you slowly just build it up because you have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to get really, really sore, and then that's going to turn you off because you don't want pain. Nobody wants pain. So you start slow and you work it up and you work it up, and then, you get to the point, hopefully, where you love to work out. Me, I love going to the gym. I love working out. I'd rather work out than eat. And I know people will hear that and they'll laugh at me, but that's just the way I am. 52, 3 years of working out. If I miss a workout, I'm very upset with myself. But I do take days off too, so you have to learn to get into routine. It has to become part of your routine. You go to work, you come hit the gym, you go home, you do what you got to do.
Okay.
So starting off slow is probably the big thing, especially for young people. Now, with older people, there are more things that they can do because you have to work out smarter, not harder when you get older because, you got to watch your knees, you got to watch your shoulders, you got to watch your elbows. So, it's a different way to train when you get older.
Okay, and then I heard you touch on the point about mental motivation. Like, you got to be motivated to engage in exercise. So, basically, I mean, like, what's some of the ways you think you could get motivated to get in the gym? Because I think people have a big problem with the motivation. They can say, okay, I can do this. I can get in here and work out for 30 minutes. But it's like, okay, they do it one day, and it's like, dang, I don't got the motivation to go back the next day. So what's some of the things you think people can do to get that mental motivation?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a hard question because if somebody really, really doesn't have it, it's very difficult to get it. But, I mean, like some tricks. I remember when I used to run, and I've done a lot of marathons. And, the day would be I'd say, oh, my God, I got to go out and run a 10-miler today because I got a marathon coming up in 2 months. And what I used to do is I used to step out the door and I used to tell myself, okay, just run from here down to the end of the driveway. And once I get moving, I go, So it's like when I get home from work and I have to go to the gym, if I sit down and I relax for 5 or 10 minutes, now I'm trying to talk myself out of going to the gym. So what I do is I come in, I grab a little cup of coffee, a half a cup of coffee just to give me that caffeine, get dressed, and get out. And, people who are doing it after work, don't go home. If you go home, you're going to sit there and say, forget it. Go right from work, go right to the gym and start off. Start off easy. Just tell yourself, I'll walk on a treadmill for 5 minutes today. And then once you get going, your mind will take over and your body will take over. Say, I'm feeling good. We'll do 20 minutes, 30 minutes,
Okay. Well, another question I have for you is, believing in the power over your mind, the power over your mind and body. So mind over matter. Do you believe in that? Do you think there's any truth in that?
Yeah. I'll tell you, there are stories that people, now that's a hard one to relate to fitness and training and stuff, but let me see if I can put something together for you. You've heard stories of people getting in accidents and somebody's pinned under a car and, somebody picks up the car to get them out. That's mind over matter. I mean, how do you pick up a car? But, it's also a physical thing with the adrenaline pumping. But you get so psyched in your head because you have to save this person, you can do phenomenal things. Now, I think in the gym, if you want to relate to training, I mean, if you're lifting weights and, you get your mind focused, really on what you're doing, you could probably lift a little more than you did if you weren't focused on what you're doing, okay? So, I mean, that's the only way I can kind of put that into the fitness level. If you're focused, you get your mind into it, and, of course, the matter is the weights, and, you just push it and focus on it, and you'll be able to get a harder, better, stronger workout.
Okay. All right. And I found a study. It was saying about women outliving men. And some of the reasons it said it's because hormones and genetics and the fact that they go through menopause and they raise kids is why they may live longer on average than men. Do you find any truth in that, or do your studies conclude with that, or?
That's a really good question, because I remember years ago, and like I said, I go back way farther than you do, when that pretty much held true. I could just see it in people when I was a young kid. The husbands would always pretty much die before the wives do. But I think the latest research is showing, and I think to some extent that is still a little true, that men die earlier than women. But I think what's happening now, from what I understand, is because women are now in the workforce, they're being subjected to the same kind of stresses that men had on the job and home and everything else. It's pretty much equal 50-50, and I can see that with my son and his wife and family. She works, he works. So they split all the activities, and they have the same stress at work. And I think women are catching up when it comes to that. And it's back again to the stress thing, But yes, women go through menopause, but men go through andropause, which now they're just finally starting to come out with that. And again, that's the whole thing I address in my book, Male Aging Busted, about the hormone levels and what happens, And the book is titled Male Aging Busted, 90% of it, even maybe 95% of it in the hormones, will pertain to women too. So it's a good read for both, thyroid, DHEA. The one I slant the most is the testosterone, because men had more testosterone than women. Growth hormone, melatonin, all pertain to women too. So yeah, I think women are catching up, unfortunately, because we all love women and we want them to live a long time.
Okay, well, we heard you say about hormones, testosterone. People out there that don't really know what that stuff is in the body, and could you basically give me an overall explanation of, try to get the people that's listening to see some of the stuff that will be beneficial to them to help testosterone out, like supplements. That I know you implement that in your book. So there's
there's a lot of different approaches to that now. I mean, people see on TV, and then, like you said, I do get into that, and I get into the different herbs that help testosterone, some of the supplements that help testosterone, certain ways to work out with the weights that help raise your testosterone, and of course, you see it on TV all the time, low T commercials, and men who take gel and take injections and take pellets because their levels are very, very low, so there are a lot of things that you can do to get your testosterone levels back up. I mean, I can talk personally about that. I've been training, like I said, over 50 years, and I thought I was invulnerable, but there came a point where I started, losing some of my muscle mass was going down, my strength was going down, just overall not a happy-go-lucky like I used to be. And, I went and of course I was into the research, so I went and had all my levels checked. And absolutely, this was when I was maybe 55, I guess, 58, and they found I was low in a lot of stuff. So, I found the right doctor, and we got in business, and, I feel like $1 million today, Not to mention I look like $1 million, too, but let's not forget that.
So what advice to conclude here? What advice would you give young guys or young females out there to live longer lives, healthier lives, and they get older, they're not hurt and disease prone?
What I would suggest, first things first, is for young guys, young women, if you're in your 20s, 30s, go to the doctor, get blood tests on all your hormone levels just to get a baseline. Because that when you're in your 20s, early 30s, you're feeling top of the world, man. That's when your levels are really up there, okay? Get those checked out so you have a baseline. So when you get up into your 40s and 50s, you check them again and you see now, oh, my testosterone has dropped 200 points, my thyroid is down, my DHEA is way down. So now you have a baseline to go back, and the doctor can get those levels back up where they were before. That's the main thing in anti-aging, get your levels up like you were in your 20s, early 30s. But exercise, good nutrition, kill the sugar. Sugar is the devil. Sugar will kill you. Try to stay off the sugar. Make sure you get good fats. Keep your carbs low. Eat vegetables, some fruit. Primarily high protein. Low-ish carbs. When I say lowish, I mean eat a lot of vegetables. Get your good fats. Coconut oil is a great one. A lot of people are just starting to get into that now. I've been on that for 7, 8 years. And watch the nutrition. Nutrition is 80% of any fitness and longevity program. 80%. Exercise is maybe 20. So that's the number one. I mean, people ask me, if they gave you a choice, just exercise or just eat good, I would have to go with eating a good balanced diet with supplements that I need, and that will keep me healthy, So.
Okay. So to conclude here, why should people buy your book, and where can they get it from?
Well, it's available on Amazon.com. I'll say it again, Male Aging Busted. I've been getting, I have it's only been out a couple weeks. I have 8 reviews so far, all 5-star, which I was so happy with. I just got an email from a doctor friend who read it and told me he learned so much from it, which really, really made me happy. And there's a tremendous amount of information on the hormones, there's charts on various vitamins, some super vitamin supplements I have in there too. But, a lot on the hormones and what you need to look for, what you need to do, and what you need to watch when you get on some hormones, because different things will tend to happen, and you have to be on top of it. And it's a very, very good read. Like I have on the back of the book, if you're 35 to 40, it's an interesting read. If you're like 40 and up, it's an important read, and then 50 over, you need to get the book, man, because it could actually save your life.
Okay. Well, thanks for having you on the show today, Greg. I'm very informed by a lot of stuff you said, because the knowledge that you put forth is just like something the doctor would tell you. But, as far as that go, I mean, it was a very, very knowledgeable interview today I had with you. So thanks for you, talking and coming on the show.
Can I make one quick statement?
Yes.
I'd say 90% of the doctors out there have no clue when it comes to anti-aging. People need to know that. You can go to your doctor and they have no clue. They can give you a little lip service about different things. When it comes to actually implementing the stuff, you got to find a doctor who is really, really into it. And, I know one here in Henderson. I don't want to say his name, though, but he's really, really good. And in the back of my book, I actually put him in because he's somebody I deal with, and he knows his business. So it's, you got to understand that. You got to find the right doctor.
Okay. All right. Well, one more time, where can we get your book from?
It's available on Amazon.com, Male Aging Busted, and also available Kindle version. So you can download it on your Kindle, whichever way makes you happy.
Okay. All right. Nice talking to you today.
You too, CJ. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And everybody out there, keep training and stay healthy.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye now.
All right. All right, that was Greg Kevorkian, the author of Male Aging Busted. You can go get his book on Amazon.com. And that will conclude for today's show. next week I will have another special guest on to talk about his book and his story on coming to America. Very interesting story. So guys, please tune in and listen to this guy's story. Next week, I did tell you guys, next weekend, I did tell you guys about my book signing. It'll be March 29th, Saturday at Clark County Library. And that's the directions. If you're in town in Las Vegas, it's 1401 East Flamingo Road. And I will have my book there. And if you're not able to make it, you could go on my website. It's www.improveyoufitness.com. And you can purchase my book on there. It's $14.99. Check it out. It has everything that you need to get started on your way to a great health, positive book. I got reviews by local authors here, a couple celebrities, Mike Tyson and Linda November. Those guys are my mentors. You know, they taught me a lot, and I actually taught them a lot. But you'll see the reviews on there. And, you know, support me and support the whole movement here. And I will be back next week, same time, same place. Improve you, health, happiness, and longevity.